Story 1. Every time I got home, something had been moved, just slightly. This happened to me in 2018, when I was living alone for the first time. I'd just moved into a small apartment in a quiet part of my city. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom on the third floor of a brick building built sometime in the 70s. It had that old building smell. My neighbors were mostly quiet, retired types. I worked from home as a graphic designer and didn't go out much. It started with the remote. One night, I noticed it wasn't where I'd left it. I was sure I'd placed it next to the couch cushions, like I always did. But it was on the coffee table, facing a different direction. I assumed I was just tired. Maybe I'd set it there without thinking. A few days later, the bathroom light was on when I came home from a grocery run. I live alone. I always keep lights off when I leave. Still, I chalked it up to forgetfulness. Maybe I was rushing out and didn't realize. Then, it kept happening. The toothbrush was on the wrong side of the sink. The kitchen chair was pulled out just a few inches. My cereal box turned around backward in the cupboard. Always something small. Always just enough to be explained away. But never the same object twice. That's what got to me. It felt like someone was keeping track. Someone who wanted me to doubt myself without being able to prove why. I didn't tell anyone. What was I supposed to say? I think someone's coming into my apartment to rotate my salt shaker. One morning I found the front door completely unlocked. Wide open, in fact. Nothing was taken. Nothing looked disturbed. I didn't sleep that night. I dragged a chair under the doorknob just in case. I bought a cheap stick-on door camera the next day. It synced to my phone, but every notification I got was just a neighbor walking by. The door itself never recorded anything unusual. But inside, the changes continued. The closet door slightly ajar. The hallway rug bunched at the corner. The drawers inside the nightstand open just an inch. Always the ones I never used. It wasn't just the objects. It was how specific it felt. Someone knew what things I rarely touched, and they picked only those. Someone knew my patterns. I tried sleeping with the lights on. I tried locking every window, placing a broom handle in the sliding door track, leaving flour near the doorway. Nothing ever caught anyone, but I felt it. The air felt different when I came back in, like something had been disturbed and resettled before I walked through the door. Then I stopped finding things out of place. For a week, nothing happened. I started thinking maybe I'd imagined it all until I opened my fridge. Everything inside had been rotated, not just moved, rotated, so that all the labels faced backward. Every single one. I didn't eat that night. I sat in the living room with a baseball bat and didn't move until the sun came up. I called the building manager. He was polite but dismissive. No sign of forced entry. Maybe it's maintenance. Maybe you're stressed. I changed the locks. I got a better deadbolt. I even switched out my old hollow bedroom door for a solid core one I bought from a salvage yard. Nothing helped. It wasn't a break-in. It wasn't theft. It was design. About 2 months into this, I got to know the man who lived in the unit across from me. His name was Dennis, retired mechanic, used to sit on his balcony most evenings and chain smoke while listening to old blues records. We talked in passing, mostly small stuff, but one night after I waved hello, he gave me a strange look. "You live alone, right?" I nodded. He didn't say anything at first, just stared at my apartment door. Then he said, "I've seen someone come out of your unit. Not through the front. I thought you were having someone over, but..." I asked him what he meant. He flicked his cigarette and said, "You keep your bathroom window unlocked?" I shook my head. "No, it's got one of those screw latches. It only opens about 4 inches. He didn't answer, just said, "It was late. I couldn't sleep. I was sitting outside. I saw someone stand up." I asked, "Stand up?" He nodded slowly. "Inside, behind your blinds. It was quick. I only caught a glimpse of movement like someone rising, then nothing. Next time I looked, the light was off." I asked him why he didn't say anything earlier. He said, "Didn't want to scare you, figured maybe I was just tired, but last week I saw someone again. No lights on this time, just a shape moving past your blinds, and then gone. Gone how? He looked at me like he wasn't sure he wanted to keep talking. They didn't use the door. Dennis wouldn't elaborate after that. Just shook his head and went back inside. The next time I saw him, he avoided eye contact. That same night, I stayed up late and watched my own windows. I turned off all the lights, sat in the hallway where I could see the living room and the narrow slice of reflection on the sliding glass door. At around 3:20 a.m., I heard something from the kitchen. A low, deliberate creak, like a cabinet being eased open, not yanked, not slammed. Slow. I held my breath and stayed perfectly still. It was followed by nothing, no footsteps, no drawers, just that one slow sound, then silence. When I finally got up the nerve to walk into the kitchen, everything looked fine. But I noticed the trash bin was pushed out from under the counter by maybe 3 inches. I hadn't used it since the morning. I went to the police, told them I thought someone had been entering my home, altering things. I mentioned the neighbor. I showed them photos I'd started taking. A spoon turned the wrong way in the sink, a cabinet door I knew I'd closed. They looked at me the way someone does when they're waiting for you to admit it was a prank. No sign of forced entry, no stolen items, no evidence of a crime. They suggested stress, exhaustion, paranoia. I asked them to dust for prints. They refused. I bought cameras. I put one in the hallway, one in the living room, one pointing at the front door. Nothing. The footage always showed nothing. No movement, no sounds, no one entering or leaving, but things kept changing. A pair of socks left bald on the table, a single teacup unwashed in the sink. I took a week off and stayed at a friend's house. When I came back, I checked every object, every drawer. It was the same, except the welcome mat had been flipped. I moved, found a new apartment across town. First floor unit, gated entry, newer building. I didn't tell anyone the address except my employer. For the first few days, it felt normal again, peaceful. Then my alarm clock went off at 5:47 p.m. That was the exact time I used to arrive home every evening at my old place. I never set this new clock. I only plugged it in. I checked the settings. No alarms were active. The next day, it happened again. Same time, same sound. I bought a new alarm clock. Didn't plug in the old one again. A few nights later, I came home and found my shampoo cap twisted off and set gently beside the bottle. That bottle had been inside a sealed cabinet under the sink. No windows were open, no signs of a break-in. I unplugged the cameras. I stopped looking for explanations. Whatever this was, whoever this was, they didn't want to hurt me. They wanted me to know that I wasn't alone. Know that I'd never be able to prove it. Know that the space I thought was mine wasn't ever really mine at all. The police came once more after I insisted. They walked through the apartment, took notes, listened politely. No entry, no evidence, no action. That's what the officer said as he closed his notepad. That night I dreamed I was standing in my kitchen, surrounded by furniture just slightly out of place. A dining chair turned inward, the salt slightly unscrewed, the microwave display flashing a time I didn't recognize. When I woke up, the dream felt more accurate than my memory. I still live here. I still keep a small notebook where I document every oddity. I've stopped reporting it because now I know this isn't about theft or danger. It's about erosion, memory, trust, sanity. Every time I get home, I walk through the door and brace myself, not for what's missing, but for what's been moved, just slightly. Story 2. He knew everything I posted, but I blocked him months ago. This started in late 2022, not long after I moved to a new city. I was trying to reset my life. New apartment, new job, new number. I'd left behind a breakup that had turned sour. Someone I dated casually for a few months, who didn't seem to understand the concept of no. I won't use his name, not even a fake one, because this isn't a story about him, not directly. After the last time we spoke, I blocked him on everything: phone, Instagram, Venmo, LinkedIn, even my Spotify. He had left a string of passive-aggressive playlists with names like Your Loss and Hope You're Happy Now. It was pathetic, but it was over, so I thought. My new job was remote. I spent most of my time indoors, rarely going out except for groceries or walks. I still used social media, but with caution. I changed all my handles, used different profile photos, made my posts private. When I did post, it was nothing revealing. Just a cup of coffee, a quote from a book, a photo of my window when it rained. Nothing that should have meant anything to anyone, but someone was watching. It began with a comment, or what looked like a comment. On a friend's art account, someone replied to a post I'd liked. The comment said, "Still liking rainy windows, I see." I thought it was coincidence. The next week, I got tagged in an anonymous meme account. Just a post with one sentence. She always adds sugar after stirring. I do that. I don't even know why. No one's ever commented on it. I ignored it, blocked the account. Then came the DMs. Not direct messages, but replies to threads I participated in, under different names, but the tone was always the same. Gentle mockery, specific knowledge, a photo of a book cover I just started, posted by someone I didn't follow. A comment that quoted something I'd said once in a group chat back in my old city. I started deleting things, locked everything down even harder. I stopped posting. That's when it got worse, because I realized he didn't need me to post anymore. He already had the map. Now he just followed the patterns. One morning I got a notification from a second-hand app I barely used, a like on a pair of boots I listed last year. The user's name was a string of random letters. But the location listed on the profile was my new city. I hadn't updated that listing. The app had auto-located me. That's when I understood. He wasn't watching the account. He was watching the metadata. I began getting friend suggestions on platforms I didn't remember signing into. An email address I used once for a recipe site showed up in a newsletter for an indie bookstore in my neighborhood. Somehow, he wasn't tracking my presence. He was tracking my absence, what I didn't do, what I changed, what I deleted. It wasn't just stalking, it was erasure in reverse. He was finding me by everything I tried to leave behind. I had a theory that maybe, somehow, she or he was still seeing things I posted, even after the blocks. So I created a test. I made a burner account. 0 followers. I followed no one. No identifying features. I only posted once, a photo of my balcony railing with the caption, 3 crows, 1 wrong. Then I waited. 2 days later, someone in a neighborhood subreddit commented under a thread about local birds. 3 crows, 1 wrong, clever. No other explanation. The user had no post history, no activity before or after. I deleted the test post, locked down the burner. A week went by. I posted nothing, changed all my passwords, reset my router. Then I got a voice note on my main account. Not from a real contact. It was a message request from someone with a private account and a single pixel for a profile image. The voice note said, in a woman's voice, "You always leave your blinds 2/3 open. You don't like how the light hits at a full angle. I hadn't posted a photo of my windows since I moved in, and I'd never told anyone that. I listened to it again and again. She wasn't guessing. She was quoting, word for word, something I'd written in a journal entry, not online, not digital, handwritten, in a paper journal I kept in a drawer by my bed. I tore my apartment apart, checked every outlet, every vent, every smoke detector, nothing. I stopped journaling. I unplugged everything I didn't need. I used burner phones, proxy networks, never logged into anything personal on my devices. It didn't matter. I started receiving comments on private Spotify playlists, not ones I'd shared, ones I'd made only for myself. You've been playing that song too often. You only play this one when you're anxious. You deleted the song, but it's still in your head. I didn't know what to do. I sat in my apartment and stopped using the internet altogether. No more apps, no more devices. I left my phone off for days. Then I heard something through the open window, A whisper, barely audible. "You look better without the screen glow." There was no one outside. I live on the 5th floor. I went to the police. I brought printouts, screenshots, notes on everything that had happened. I showed them the voice note, the comments, the overlapping usernames, the tagged accounts, the burner posts. They barely looked up. "This could be someone guessing," the officer said. "Nothing here violates any platform rules. If you've blocked them, they shouldn't be able to contact you." I told them about the voice, about the paper journal entry, about the Spotify messages. They asked if I'd shared my passwords, if I'd been hacked. I said no. I'd checked everything, reset everything, replaced devices, factory reset my laptop, switched out my modem. They sent someone to my apartment. The officer walked around, checked for bugs, scanned for open networks. "No trace," he said. "You're clean." I asked about Bluetooth, about IoT devices, smart appliances. He shrugged. "Nothing unusual. Maybe your accounts are cached somewhere." I asked what to do. "Block her again," he said, misgendering the stalker. "There's nothing we can act on." Before he left, he asked, "Do you feel threatened?" I said I didn't know. He handed me a card and said, "Call if anything escalates." That night, I turned off every device in my home. I sat in the dark, no lights, no sounds. I didn't even look at my phone. Still, I felt something, movement, not outside, inside, a shift in the air, the kind that happens when someone else is in the room and not making noise. I walked to the kitchen. The faucet was dripping. I hadn't used it since morning. I reached for the switch to turn on the light and stopped. Someone had drawn a smiley face in the condensation of the microwave door. I hadn't cooked anything, and I live alone. I moved again, took a new job, paid cash for everything, burned every old account, new name, new SIM card, no online footprint, no social media, not even email, a digital ghost. 3 weeks passed, nothing. Then I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. They left no voicemail. That night, I whispered into my unplugged phone, just to release the pressure in my chest. "You'll never find me." I didn't expect a reply, but the next morning, a note had been slid under my door. Plain paper, pencil, neat handwriting. It said, "That's what makes it fun. Did you enjoy the content and it made a difference for you? Click on Super Thanks and support our work." Story 3. She took pictures of me in places I'd never been, but I'm in them. This happened to me in the fall of 2021. I was living in Baltimore at the time, worked remotely for a logistics firm, nothing interesting. I kept to myself, stayed in my apartment most days. I wasn't active on social media beyond a few friends on WhatsApp and a rarely used Signal account. My camera roll was maybe 100 photos total, food I'd made, a few receipts, the inside of my fridge. So when I received a package at my door with no return label, I figured it was an error. It was a thin cardboard mailer, the kind used for photographs or prints. No stamps, just my name, written in ballpoint pen. Inside were 5 glossy photos, full size, professionally printed. Each one was of me, in places I'd never been. In the first, I was standing outside what looked like a diner. A rusted metal sign read, "Tilly's Grill." I was wearing a windbreaker I didn't own. My hair looked slightly longer. I was smiling. In the second, I was seated on a green bench at what might have been a bus terminal. I was holding a folded paper, maybe a brochure, and looking straight at the camera. The timestamp on the back of the photo read August 17th, 2021, 5:44 p.m. That was a Tuesday. I'd worked all day that Tuesday. I checked my calendar, my login sessions, even my delivery receipts. All confirmed I hadn't left the apartment. The photos had metadata too. Not on the print, but when I scanned them. Embedded timestamps, GPS coordinates, image specs. They aligned perfectly with the dates and locations indicated. I looked up the diner. It was real. In Kentucky. I'd never been to Kentucky. I don't even know anyone from there. The third photo was more personal. Me, seated at what looked like an outdoor wedding. White chairs, flower petals on the ground. I was in a dress shirt, mid-laugh, my head tilted back. I don't laugh like that. The fourth photo disturbed me the most. It showed me asleep, not posed, not smiling, just slouched on a brown leather couch, eyes closed. My arm was tucked behind my head. My shoes were off. I had never seen that couch before in my life. I stared at the photo for hours that night, turning it under the lamp, checking for shadows, reflections, signs of editing. But it wasn't fake. There was a level of imperfection you can't simulate. The slightly off-white walls, a crooked lamp in the background, the texture of the socks I was wearing. I looked down at my feet. Same socks, threadbare heel, faint bleach stain. I'd bought those socks myself. But I'd never taken them to wherever that photo was taken. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the fifth photo, because in that one, I was looking straight at the camera, and the background wasn't unfamiliar. It was my apartment. But I don't remember the photo being taken, and I don't remember smiling like that. I started carrying the photos around with me, folded in the inside pocket of my coat. I don't know why. Part of me thought I'd find something, a clue, a crack in the story. That's how I noticed her, the woman from the fifth photo. I hadn't seen her clearly before. She was out of focus, standing behind me, maybe 10 feet away, shoulder-length hair, dark hoodie, looking slightly down. But 2 days later, I was taking the metro home when I saw someone who looked just like her. She was seated across from me in the far row, facing forward. Same hair, same frame, same slight tilt of the head. I don't usually stare, but I couldn't help myself. When the train stopped at the next station, she got up. As she stepped past me, she looked up, made eye contact, and smiled. It wasn't a new smile. It was the exact same one from the photo. I got off at the next stop even though it wasn't mine. Took the stairs 2 at a time, waited in a bodega for 20 minutes before catching another train home. When I got back, I checked every door, every lock. I slid a chair under the knob and left the lights on all night. The next morning, I checked the hallway security cam. My building has a single camera in the main corridor, pointing at the entrance. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the camera flickered. It was off for 3 seconds. When it came back, the hallway was empty, except the doormat outside my apartment had been flipped. Later that day, I examined the photos again, not just the subjects, but the surroundings. In the wedding photo, there was a woman behind me, blurry, mid-step. I hadn't noticed before. Same frame, same hair. I took a picture of the print and zoomed in. The resolution broke apart, but I saw the shape of her hand holding something at waist level. A camera. I started carrying pepper spray. I went to the police. I told them someone was stalking me, that I'd received photographs of myself taken in places I'd never been, that someone knew where I lived. The officer at the desk nodded without looking up. Any threats? No, I said, just the photos. He sighed. Could be a prank. Someone with Photoshop. Happens more than you'd think. These aren't edited, I said. The metadata checks out. The places are real. Doesn't mean you were really there, he said. I'm in the photo, I replied. He glanced at me. Could be a lookalike. I pulled out the one of me asleep. This is inside someone's home. I don't recognize it, but that's me. That's my sock. He paused. How'd you get it? It was mailed to me. No return address? No. He typed for a moment, then handed me a slip. File a report online. Unless there's an explicit threat or break-in, this is outside our scope. I left the station. I started reading about psychological cases, identity delusion, memory displacement, reality confusion. I found an article about false memory implantation using deep fake materials. There were mentions of people convinced they'd attended events that never happened because someone created evidence they couldn't disprove. Not doctored photos, not AI, just perfect recreations. Perfect enough to make you question your mind. I didn't want to believe it. But then I found the album. It was in my closet, behind a stack of winter clothes I hadn't unpacked. A leather-bound photo album. I hadn't bought it. Inside were dozens of photos. All of me. Different settings, different clothes. Some were outdoors, parks, parking lots, sidewalk cafes. Some were private, bathrooms, kitchens, hallways. In each one, I was doing something mundane, reading, drinking, waiting, smiling. But I had no memory of any of it. And the worst part, I looked happy in ways I never felt in real life. I burned the album in the kitchen sink, moved states 3 weeks later, got a new job, rented a furnished studio under a different name. I kept all windows covered, all electronics unplugged unless in use. I didn't tell anyone where I went. It worked for a while. Then, one morning, I found a photo taped to the bathroom mirror. Just one. Me, standing outside a bookstore I'd never seen before, wearing a shirt I didn't own, smiling at someone just outside the frame. Someone had written a date on the back, October 19th, 2024. That was 4 months away. And in the bottom corner, scribbled in pencil, "You always look best when you don't know you're being watched."